Well, in the book you said that after 6 months of selling drugs, you'd made $100,000.
Yeah.
You actually had that in cash.
Mm-hmm.
How did that feel? You were how old at the time?
Maybe 20.
So 20 years old, sitting on 100,000.
It was unbelievable. Where you got to figure like before that we couldn't even buy gas.
Hmm.
When gas was like 50 cents a gallon, so we couldn't afford to buy gas. And now you're talking about here we are with 100 grand. Uh, it felt unreal. When I started in the game, I only wanted to make 5,000.
Right.
That was me and Al's goal. Like we're gonna make 5,000. We're gonna buy some Zeniths for our cars.
And that's it.
We're gonna live in mom's garage, and live happily ever after. So to have 100,000 was like, and you're talking about at this time houses in our area only was going for like 50,000 in LA at that time. So
Hmm.
we could have bought two houses.
But you reinvested
Yeah, all of it.
all of it. At one point, you couldn't get enough product in LA, so you started going to Miami.
Yeah, it was hard to get product in LA at one time. I mean, uh, even when we was buying ounces and eighths, it was hard. That's why I wound up at Will's house because we couldn't find it nowhere else. And like I did, we started with Mike, who was really a football player. He wasn't a drug dealer. He was a football player who somehow got a hold to some cocaine. So he's really the one that got us started. But what happened with us is once we got started, we got addicted. Me and Al became addicted to the lifestyle that it didn't matter what lengths we had to go through to get some cocaine, we was gonna get it. Uh, Going to the valley, going to another city, all the way until we found ourselves in Miami. You know, Sitting in a hotel room with 20 kilos of cocaine, uh, and I think we had about $1,800 left
Right.
with
I
no
guess.
plane tickets, no bus tickets.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess you had brought 600,000 in cash and bought 20 kilos,
Yep,
so you're getting about 30,000 a kilo back then. Um, but I guess you could take that and sell each kilo for 200,000
in LA.
in LA. So that's like $4 million
Yeah, if you broke
of,
it,
of,
if you
of
broke it
product.
down, yeah,
Yeah.
if you broke it down like that, it would have been something like that. I think what we was trying to make off of it probably was maybe a million, million and a half.
I mean, still.
Yeah, for us, I mean it was unbelievable. We had already passed all our dreams. None of our dreams was ever to accumulate 600,000. Um, it was to get $5,000. So now here we are with more money than we ever thought that we would have, and um, we're just living the life, man. Uh, Doing whatever we want to do.
Well, it's one thing to drive around in your city or in the overall area, pick up, a kilo here, drop off the cash, whatever else. Flying cross country, dealing with people on the other side of the US and everything that goes into it. How big of how stressful was that whole situation suddenly doing all that? Because now you're building up into a much different level.
Well, it's nerve wracking. The first time we went to Miami, to be down there with that much money with no guns. We saw the stories about Scarface and the
Right.
robbery and the whole 9 yards. But we tried to have some strategies. Like we wouldn't have all the money with us. We would leave the money in a hotel room. When we would go to the meeting, we would show them some money. They would show us a kilo, and it just gradually to where you felt comfortable because we were vulnerable in Miami.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons that when they offered me to go out the country, that I didn't really want to go out the country because I felt so vulnerable.
Oh, so your Miami connects were trying to get you to go out of the country.
Yeah, they used to try to get me to go out the
To
country.
what country?
Mexico, Colombia.
Aha. Aha. Had you done that, do you think that you would have gotten bigger faster?
Absolutely. The
Okay.
price would have been cheaper.
Yeah.
Um, and with a cheaper price, it just increases your profit margin. And, with me increasing my profit margin, it would increase the more money that I would have put in. And then I would have passed that savings down to my customers. So it would have just made things that much bigger.
Yeah, but you'd be dealing with people in their own country that probably have governmental controls and to the
Yeah, it was
point.
just so it's just so much to it, and I was making at that time I was making more money uh, than I'd ever thought about making. You figure on the average day in like 84, 85, I'm probably profiting about 200,000 a day, 150,000 a day. So making that kind of profit, I saw no need to increase it, and I didn't see where it necessarily had to ever stop. I didn't see that. Um, I didn't see that the cops were going to be able to turn it off. I thought that I could turn it off and on whenever I got ready.
Well, by 24 years old, you were a kingpin. You were moving 100 kilos a day. You had a dozen crack houses that were making 40,000 in profit a day. And you had a network of dealers that were moving 500,000 crack rocks a day. When you look at these types of numbers, and this is all, you've laid all this out in your book, it is a staggering amount of drugs. I mean, 500,000 rocks a day. Like, when you look at that right now, how do you even come to grips with it?
I don't know. It's like, you know, that was just something I stumbled up on. It was only when I really got in prison that I really understood the magnitude that of what I was doing was. Vlad, I was a kid still. I'm 24 years old, but I
Mm-hmm.
ain't never read a book,
Right, you're illiterate.
never watched the news. My teaching came from guys who probably got their teaching from Tookie. Because you can't get the Tookie, so you deal with OJ. OJ is a homie from my block that hang out with Tookie and them, so that's where I got my information from.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at all of those things, then you can understand a person's mentality.
Well, I mean, was it, from what I understand in the book, is that it was run like a multi level corporation? Because in order, just the money counting alone needed like a bunch of employees. And then to move the product from one place to another, like people, I mean, it was almost like I think you described it as like a McDonald's drive through.
That's the way LA Times described it.
Okay. My
well,
bad.
well, it was like this, but I've always found myself kind of like in a leader's position. On our football team, I was the quarterback. We played basketball. I'm the point guard. Baseball, I'm the pitcher. So it was kind of like I'd always been able to organize my guys. I'd always been the one to go out like with Dirty Benny. I started with Dirty Benny and Jumpin' Jake, and when they went to jail, I took all the information I learned from them, and then I started teaching it to my guys. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I started off as Dirty Benny's driver, and then I hired a driver when I started doing it. So I was just really just copying the things that I had saw other people do, and trying to master those steps that I saw them doing.